So I have been competing and fighting since I was about 8 years old. I had my first Sancho event, which is punching, kicking, and wrestling. I was mainly throwing ones and twos to a takedown. I had a good liver kick and a good right leg low kick, but I did that probably till I was about 13, and then competed in wrestling also, and did that until I was, I don't know how old, grappling, and then I'm 30 years old doing another grappling thing. So hundreds of grappling competitions, and a handful of stand-up fights, right? I don't know, I'm 6 maybe, something like that, from the time I was throughout my entire life. So it's been slow, but I've been pretty consistent in doing these little fights, war things or whatever. But I make this video because, like, since middle school, when I was nervous, I didn't know what to do, so I panicked at night, and then I would drink like a whole bottle of NyQuil to go to sleep. And then in college, it switched from NyQuil to like Xanax before wrestling matches. And then it got so bad that I was like on, I don't know how much Xanax while I was wrestling, and Vicodin and opiates and whatever I could get my hands on, Oxycontin and things like that. And so, I mean, before my fight in Miami, I was like I threw up the night before. I was so nervous. And then as soon as I signed the paper for the agreement for the fight, like, it's like 2 months away maybe, and then that's when it starts. I'm under extreme anxiety and fear the entire time. I think it's from, getting a flash knockout when I was at AK, and then a flash knockout while I was wrestling. So a lot of head trauma. And so I think I do suffer from PTSD going into these competitions, or maybe it's just the fear of God is stronger in me than most, and I just need to deal with that and go about it, and just take on all that fear and anxiety. And then, because as soon as I walk in there, or as soon as they're taping up my hands, all the fear disappears, and then I'm something else. I'm someone else, and I just go on overdrive, and then I am who I am, and I fight. I've never like froze up during a fight or anything like that, or really never really performed that badly, to be honest. Never really had a match where it's not like exciting, or I didn't puss out or anything. So I have no idea what I'm afraid of. And I've seen, that doesn't even matter either. I've seen Sugar Sean O'Malley like totally puss out, in fights, and gas out and quit or whatever. And he's like one of the best fighters in the world now. And then and maybe that's another fear, like Nick Diaz took a knee, and I thought he was this fearless warrior, and then it could be taken at any time. You can be broken at any time in fighting, and maybe that scares me too, is that you could be a Nick Diaz and never back down and throw the middle finger up and be a gangster your whole life, and then you show up to this UFC event with Robbie Lawler, who you knocked out in the past, and then you take a knee like that, and that's like, it broke my heart. I'm sure it broke, I don't know if it broke other people's hearts and stuff, but I just can't believe I don't I guess what I'm just saying is, like, I can't believe I'm still fighting at 30 years old, and still wondering, like an insane person, like, if I'll be this UFC super, or just a fighting superstar, and I'll be able to make money out of it, which is even crazier. And I'm like holding on to that like, even though I could barely take this competition, even though I could barely do this, somehow, some way, I'm gonna be able to walk into the fire of getting into, a professional MMA fight. And so even though people call me a drug addict and a crazy person and all that, I still believe that I'm gonna do it. And it's even crazy to me, like, how they talk about in church how there's the spirit and the mind and the body, and they're all warring against each other. And just like in Native American culture, they talk about which wolf becomes the strongest, the dark wolf, the shadow wolf, or the white wolf. And it's whichever one you feed. For whatever reason, even if I'm like, no, I'm done, I'm quitting, I'm not gonna do this, I'm done, I've done it so many times, I've done it my whole life, what do I have to prove? I've already been a world finalist. What do you want, another world medal? Like, what's going on? How far, like, this addiction that I'm under, that wolf in me, whichever one it is, the dark wolf or the light wolf, whispers to me like, no, like, we're gonna do this no matter what. Through kidney failure and staph 100 times, all these crazy diseases and stuff you get from the mat, and it's just like, it's insane. And here I am again, going through this, deciding you're gonna do it, and then months of stress and anxiety and psychosis. But let's get it done, guys.